Are you looking to build influence? Or maybe to drive more traffic? But bottom line, you want to change the game. You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Business Building Book Club. We're going to give you the tools you need to succeed, both online and in person. Brought to you by Coach Molly and Three Pines Leadership.
Hey, visibility hackers, and welcome back to this episode of the Business Building Book Club. I'm your host, Coach Molly from visibilityhacking.com, and I am so glad you're here with me for this episode. Make sure you find me on all of your social platforms. I'm Coach Molly with an E on Clubhouse. I'm Coach Molly with an E on Twitter. And you can find me on Instagram at 3_pines_leadership. But the place that I hang out the most, if you want to come get your daily dose of visibility, is in the Visibility Hackers Facebook group. So come on by. I personally invite you to come down and hang out with us in the group. Today, we're diving back into Russell Brunson's expert secrets. We're diving into secret number 10, the 4 core stories. I'm really excited to share this chapter with you and to share next week's guest. All right. Without further ado, I got to remind you, if you don't have your copy of this season's book, Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson, then check the description box below for links to get your own hardcover copy for free. You just have to cover the cost of shipping it to you. It's absolutely worth it. And even if you don't find the information inside to be incredibly valuable, which it is, then you can always use it for self-defense or as a doorstop. All right, let's dive in, shall we? Secret number 10, starting on page 191 of the second edition of Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets, the 4 core stories. My wife and I had been invited to come to a private mastermind meeting in Puerto Rico with some of the top personal development and marketing gurus in the world. Sitting around that small table was more than $1 billion a year in sales among the companies that were represented. One of the guys who I looked up to the most in that group was Craig Clements, and I consider him one of the best living copywriters on the planet today. When I first became aware of Craig, I found a few of the video sales letters he had written that were so good. I used to watch them over and over again on my big screen TV, the way that I would watch a blockbuster. What's crazy to me, though, is the fact that while the goal of most Hollywood films is to gross $1 billion in sales while they're in theater, Craig's sales videos have been so powerful that they have grossed his company more than $1 billion in sales online in just the past few years. As we sat around the table that day on a small porch overlooking the ocean, Craig made a comment that I'm pretty sure everyone missed. It was so simple, yet so powerful. I'll never forget it. He said, "My goal in my marketing is to rewrite the story that's inside everybody's head." Tony Robbins said, "Every day we tell ourselves stories. We create stories to give meaning to our lives, to justify what we want to experience or feel, and to give others a framework upon which to build future stories." It's interesting to note that the amazing things you've been able to create and accomplish in your life have happened because there are stories you believe that have allowed you to move forward with certainty. The stories you believe have created the identity you have today. And if you believe that you can lose weight, then you will. If you believe that you will have success starting a business, you will. If you really believe that you will be successful, then you will. But what about the other stories that we tell ourselves? The ones that don't serve us? Stories about why things may work for other people but not for us. Stories about why we aren't qualified or worthy to do the same thing we've been called to do. Those who don't believe that they will be able to stick to a diet don't. And those who don't know if they'll be successful with their own businesses aren't. It's as simple as that. The stories you believe will form your identity and shape the direction of your life. If you change the stories you believe, you can create an identity shift and change the direction of your life. When Craig said, "My goal in my marketing is to rewrite the story that's inside people's heads," I realized that our only real goal in any of our marketing is to identify the false beliefs and false stories that our customers are telling themselves, the ones that are keeping them from success, and to rewrite those stories inside of their minds. I always tell people that my job as head funnel nerd of the funnel hacker community is to get people to believe that funnels will work for them. That's my only responsibility. If I can get you to believe it will work for you, then it will. You'll put in the work and the effort necessary to have success. If you don't believe it, you may start the journey, but there is no way you'll ever finish it. The same is true for the people you are leading. Your number one job is to get them to believe that the new opportunity you created for them is the key to their desired result. The way we do this is to figure out the false beliefs that people have regarding what we are trying to offer them and what stories they are telling themselves about it. And when we have to rewrite their story. If they already had a correct story in their mind, they would have already achieved their desired result. Our job as a marketer and a storyteller is to rewrite that story. So how do we rewrite the story? The first thing we have to understand is how people rewrite their stories and create their beliefs. It all starts with an experience that happened in their life. It could be positive or negative, but immediately after they have that experience, their mind quickly creates a story about what that experience meant. Their brain then takes the story they've created and it becomes a belief. Now, depending on the experience and the story, the belief may serve to and protect them, or it may create a false belief that keeps them from what they really want. This belief system forms the foundations of our lives. We create these beliefs to keep us safe and to safeguard our status. And while they've been developed to protect us, oftentimes they are also things that keep us from progressing in our lives. This process has been happening every day of your life and has created you, the belief system you hold on to today. Isn't it interesting that two people can have the exact same experience, but because of the story they create in their mind, it affects their beliefs about it? When you first present your new opportunity to someone, almost instantly their subconscious mind will start looking through all the stories they have to see if what you are saying fits into their existing belief patterns. If it does, they will believe you. If not, they'll be skeptical. And you will have to rewrite the story for them, telling them a better story. One that gives them the epiphany that will rewrite their story. Let me show you how to identify the stories that you will need to rewrite with ours. To break someone's false belief, we have to identify the experience they went through that made them create the story they tell themselves. When we have to share a story that breaks through their false beliefs and helps them form a new belief. So there's the chains of false belief. The first step is to identify the false belief someone currently has that has kept them from believing in your new opportunity. If you struggle to figure out what your dream customer's false belief might be, think about what false beliefs you had before you went on this journey. Next is experience. After you've identified the false belief, determine the experience they likely had that made them believe what they do. Next is story. Based on the experience they had, what is the story that they tell themselves now? And finally, the new epiphany bridge. What story can you share that will rewrite the story that is causing the false belief holding them back? Give them a new epiphany and create a new belief. To demonstrate how this works, I've included examples for two niches, weight loss and network marketing or multi-level marketing. You can follow the same pattern for any niche. So chains of belief. What chains of belief might your potential customer have about your new opportunity? If you're not able to think of false beliefs that your potential prospects might have, think about what false beliefs that you had before your epiphany. So weight loss. If I try to lose weight, I'm going to be miserable. Network marketing. If I join a network marketing or an MLM program, I could lose all my friends. Okay. Experience. Now that you have the false belief, the next step is to figure out the most likely experience your prospect had in their life that caused that false belief. So for weight loss, I tried to lose weight last year and I had to cut out carbs. I was miserable. Okay. Network marketing. One time I joined an MLM and tried to sign up my family members and they got mad. Story. What is the false story they are telling themselves now that's creating the doubt about your new opportunity? So for weight loss, I have to give up things that make me happy if I want to lose weight. For network marketing, people have to bug their friends and family to have success in network marketing. And now the new epiphany bridge. Now it's your job to find an epiphany bridge story, usually from your own life, but it can also work if you share someone else's story, that shows how you once had a similar belief, but because of this new story, you now have a new pattern of you now have a new belief pattern and realize why the old story you were telling yourself was wrong. So for weight loss, I also thought I'd have to give up things that make me happy to lose weight. But when I learned about ketosis and how I can lose weight by drinking ketones instead of cutting carbs. Network marketing. I also thought I might offend my friends if I joined an MLM, but then I learned that I can generate leads online. The internet is full of people who want to join my program, so I can grow my team without involving my friends or family. Do you see how this works? When I first started to understand this concept, I realized that stories are the key to belief. If I can identify people's false beliefs and tell stories that show them the truth, I don't need to sell them anything. The stories lead people to the right belief, and they sell themselves. If you've ever heard me speak, you know I share a lot of stories. In fact, during a recent presentation, one of my friends counted the numbers of stories I told within the first 60 minutes. I had guessed the number might be 10 or so, but the total ended up being more than 50, almost one per minute. Some stories may take somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, while others are often less than a minute. Each story I tell has a purpose, which is to break a false belief that I know my listeners have. So what stories do I tell? The 4 core stories. It's important to understand that I don't just tell random stories for fun. Each story I share with my audience has a very specific purpose. It's to break a false belief that they may have and rewrite it with a new empowering belief that will give me the ability to serve them. Inside the selling framework that you will learn in the next section of this book, I use 4 core stories to break the false beliefs of people I'm presenting to. The 4 core stories are: 1, your origin story with the new opportunity. This is the epiphany bridge story that tells how you discovered your new opportunity. Of all the stories you share, this is the one that will follow the epiphany bridge script the most closely. It's usually the first story I tell, so I spend more time going on into my backstory, the journey, the guide that gave me the epiphany in this new market, the frameworks I developed in my success, as well as other successes following the frameworks. And then I end with my story of achievement and transformation. The goal of this first story is to break the false beliefs people have about the other opportunities that may be currently using to try to get their desired result. It shows that there is a new opportunity you've discovered that will now be sharing with them. For example, when someone hears my origin story, they should believe that funnels are the best way to achieve the result that they want. Number 2, vehicle framework story. How you learned it or earned it. The second story I tell is specifically about the new vehicle framework. Now that my audience knows about the new opportunity, I want to tell them about the framework. The story I share is about how I learned or earned this framework, and then I share the strategy of what the framework is. Example. I would share how I created my funnel hacking framework to figure out funnels work best and how to model those for my new funnels. My stories would show how I learned or earned these frameworks. The third thing is internal belief stories. After someone learns about the strategy behind the framework, their next false belief will be about their ability to execute on the plan. Here I tell my epiphany bridge story about how I discovered that I could actually do it and share examples of how others just like them have as well. Example, they may believe that funnels are great, but they may not believe that they have the technical abilities to create them. I need to show them through stories that they can. And number 4, external belief story. After someone believes in the vehicle and their ability to execute on it, the next false belief that they will be about the external forces they believe can stop them from being successful. Here, I tell an epiphany bridge story that will break their false beliefs that some external force will keep them from being successful. For example, even if they believe they can build a funnel, because they don't know how to drive traffic to that funnel, they need a story to get them to believe that it's possible for them to actually drive traffic to their funnels. In the next section, you will see inside our sales scripts where we plug these stories in. I just wanted to bring them up now because our next exercise is about creating a story inventory. I want you to categorize each of your stories based on one of these 4 categories so that we have them on hand in the next section of the book. Building a story inventory. Now that you understand the power of stories and have been thinking about the stories that you could tell your audience, the last step in this section is to start building up your inventory of stories. The reason that I'm able to get on stage and talk for hours without notes at a moment's notice is because I have built up an inventory of stories. The goal with this next exercise is to start building out your own stories. I don't want you to just pick random stories, though. Each one should be specifically designed to break a false belief that someone has and rewrite the story inside of their minds. The first step is chains of false belief. In the left column, list all of the false beliefs your customers might have related to your new opportunity, followed by the vehicle frameworks and their internal beliefs and their external beliefs. I have 3 lines in each category, but I'd suggest writing down dozens of false beliefs about each one. If you struggle trying to figure them out, think about the false beliefs that you had before you got started on this path. It's likely that your audience holds the same false beliefs. Step 2 is experiences. Next to each false belief that you listed, write out what type of experience they may have gone through to get them that false belief. Step 3 is stories. Next to each experience, write down the story that the experience created in their mind. It's important to know exactly what story they are telling themselves so you can rewrite it with an epiphany bridge story. And step 4, the new epiphany bridge. Think about your own epiphany bridge story for each of these false beliefs. What happened to change your belief for you? As you build out these steps for your customers, you'll notice that you had most likely the same beliefs and experiences and stories. So just go back in time and remember what gave you the big aha and shattered those beliefs for you. Make sure you have a story for each false belief. If you don't have a personal story, it's okay to use stories from other people. Each of your stories will break your dream customers' false beliefs and rebuild new beliefs. You might not use all of them, but you should start building up an inventory of stories to use in the future. After you complete all 4 steps, go back and practice telling your stories using the Epiphany Bridge script from secret number 9. The better you get at telling the stories, the more effective you'll become at persuading others and knowing exactly what to say when customers bring up objections. Guys, that's it for this chapter of Russell Brunson's Expert Secrets. Next week, we'll be back with an expert guest to talk about how they use these 4 core stories in their own business. And we'll be going over some cool things to help you design and develop your own core stories. Thank you so much for joining me. Make sure that you subscribe, like, download, and share this podcast with your friends who you think would benefit from this information. I'm Coach Molly from visibilityhacking.com. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you again in our next episode. And until then, remember, I love you and be excellent to each other.